Question is, let's react nationally to what happened last night. How are you feeling about the Republican surge?
It was an amazing night. It looks like it's the most Republican seats gained since at least 1948, possibly since 1938. So it was a huge night. A little disappointing in the Senate, great in the governors, unbelievable day in Indiana. So as a conservative who's been active since I heard Ronald Reagan's speech for Barry Goldwater and was 14 years old, it was a wonderful night.
Did you expect things to go so well for Republicans?
I didn't expect, honestly, to get quite that many seats in the House, and what I expected, given the excitement of the Tea Party, was that more of the Tea Party candidates would win, and instead, ironically, the Republicans took quite a few seats in New York State, in Pennsylvania, swept Ohio, won seats in Michigan, seats where they weren't quite as conservative. So that's going to be interesting to see, because expectations, particularly in Indiana and other places, were that this was a great big right-wing revolt, when it seems to be an anti-health care and anti-spending, but not quite the revolution that some people were expecting.
So what happens now? What does this mean for the country in the next year, let's say?
It means we're going to have a lot of conflict, and we're going to find out whether President Obama wants to do what President Clinton did. After we won the House in '95, we had a big showdown, big sort of spitting match. We passed a appropriations bill. President Clinton wouldn't sign it. We stalemated, and the government shut down. From that, after that showdown, President Clinton decided to cut some deals on immigration, on welfare reform, and a number of other things. Now the question is will President Obama do that? Will the Republicans have enough room from their own base to cut some deals, or are we going to have another stalemate this fall, right as we're starting the presidential, and basically this just be a warm-up for the big election in 2012.
And so what does that mean for Obama, do you think, in say, 2012?
Personally, I think that with slimmer majorities in the House, to win re-election, he's going to have to get his liberal base more excited, which means we're likely to have a fairly tumultuous year. The budget, which will be the first fight early this spring, doesn't have to be passed. The Democrats worked this year without a budget, but the appropriations bill will. That means that the big showdown in appropriations will probably be September, October, November. Interestingly, that's when the presidential first kind of cattle calls, as they call them in Iowa and elsewhere, start, and January is the first caucuses. So the presidential race is going to overlap with the conflict in the House, and I believe that means neither side will be able to do much compromising, because their bases will say, look, let's just go for the big one and fight it out in 2012. So that could mean, for example, tax increases passed for only 2 years, and then whoever wins gets to determine what to do with the tax reinstatements of the cuts, or tax hikes, as we Republicans would call it. It may mean that there'll be some slowing down of the health care plan, but we won't really know what happens to the health care plan until we have winner takes all in 2012.
So really we aren't going to see huge changes. We may see conflict, but not huge changes for a while.
The biggest conflict would be if the president tries to unilaterally do through executive orders or presidential decisions and then dare Congress to try to overturn him, because the Republicans don't have enough votes to overturn an executive order because we don't control the Senate. On the other hand, they can cut off the money, which is where you could lead to the government shutdown.